The river was silent. Not the peaceful silence of a calm tropical morning, but the tense quiet that comes just before something extraordinary happens. Mist drifted slowly across the dark surface of a jungle river, while towering rainforest walls stood motionless on both sides, as if the forest itself were holding its breath. Deep within the world's tropical jungles, two very different masters of survival have quietly built reputations that fascinate military observers around the globe. Hidden among winding waterways and dense forests, elite soldiers train to move where ordinary forces struggle to survive. On one side are the Filipino Riverine Commandos, soldiers shaped by the twisting waterways, mangrove forests, and tidal rivers of the Philippine archipelago. Their small tactical boats slip silently through tangled mangrove channels as watchful eyes scan the jungle's shadows. On the other side stand the Brazilian jungle experts, troops hardened by the immense and unforgiving Amazon rainforest. Deep beneath the towering canopy, soldiers advance through thick vegetation and muddy riverbanks, trained to survive one of the harshest natural environments on Earth. Both forces are products of geography. From above, vast river systems carve their way through endless jungle, showing how waterways become lifelines, roads, and sometimes battlefields for those who learn to master them. Both are trained to dominate environments that overwhelm ordinary soldiers. In the maze of mangrove roots and narrow tidal channels, stealthy boats glide through tight waterways where only the most experienced operators know how to move unseen. But if the question ever came down to who truly understands jungle waterways better, the answer might not be so simple. Before we dive deeper, think about where you are watching from today and how stories like this travel across continents. Because when rivers become the battlefield, the line between land and water disappears, and the jungle itself transforms into a living maze where survival belongs to those who know it best. To understand the power of Filipino Riverine Commandos, you first have to look at the geography of the Philippines itself. The nation is made up of more than 7,000 islands scattered across the ocean, with winding rivers and waterways cutting through dense tropical landscape. These islands are connected by an intricate network of rivers, estuaries, and coastal channels. From above, the waterways weave through mangrove forests and jungle-covered land, forming natural routes that link communities across the archipelago. For centuries, local communities relied on these waterways for trade, fishing, and travel. Small boats moved steadily along calm jungle rivers as people used the water as their main road through the tropical environment. Over generations, people developed an instinctive understanding of the water. Experienced boatmen learned to read currents, tides, and subtle shifts in the environment that could mean the difference between safe passage and danger. When modern military forces began forming specialized river units, they built upon this deep cultural knowledge. Filipino Riverine Commandos trained to move through narrow mangrove waterways where thick vegetation and tight channels demand careful navigation. Their boats are often small, fast, and extremely maneuverable, designed to slip through narrow river bends where larger vessels would struggle to pass. Precision, coordination, and silent movement become essential in these tight jungle waterways. In many operations, surprise is everything. A river unit may suddenly appear from around a jungle bend, strike quickly, and disappear just as fast, a strategy that has helped make Filipino riverine forces among the most agile water-based units in tropical environments. Across the Pacific, Brazil's jungle specialists train in a landscape that dwarfs most other ecosystems on Earth. From above, the Amazon rainforest stretches endlessly toward the horizon, a vast ocean of green canopy broken only by wide winding rivers cutting through the jungle. The Amazon rainforest covers millions of square kilometers, forming one of the most complex natural environments on the planet. Massive rivers twist through dense forest while flooded plains spread during rainy seasons, creating an immense and ever-changing network of waterways. Deep inside the rainforest, the jungle becomes thick and overwhelming. Towering trees, tangled vines, and heavy vegetation limit visibility to only a few meters, creating a humid and shadowy world where navigating even short distances can be difficult. Brazilian jungle troops train within this demanding environment. Soldiers push through dense vegetation carrying minimal equipment, learning how to move efficiently through terrain that constantly tests endurance and focus. Part of their training involves crossing jungle rivers using improvised technique. Troops construct makeshift rafts or rope systems to move across muddy waterways surrounded by thick rainforest. They also study the jungle itself. Soldiers examine plants, animal tracks, and terrain patterns on the forest floor, learning how the environment can provide clues, resources, and survival advantages. Camouflage and stealth are critical skills in this environment. Moving slowly through dense foliage, Brazilian jungle specialists blend into the rainforest so effectively that they become nearly invisible, allowing them to operate deep within the jungle where conventional tactics often fail. At first glance, both forces appear to specialize in the same kind of warfare, jungle operations. Yet the environments that shape them are dramatically different, with one side rooted in the narrow waterways of Southeast Asia and the other in the immense rainforests of South America. In the Philippines, river systems are often narrow and winding, cutting through mangrove forests and coastal jungles where thick roots and dense vegetation crowd the water's edge. These waterways demand speed and precision. Filipino Riverine Commandos must expertly maneuver through tight bends and shallow channels, navigating twisting rivers where even a small mistake could trap a boat or expose a unit. The Amazon, by contrast, operates on an enormous scale. Massive rivers stretch across wide floodplains, carving through endless rainforest and forming waterways that seem almost ocean-like in size. Seasonal rains can dramatically transform this landscape. Rising water levels flood large sections of forest, turning dry land into submerged jungle and creating temporary waterways between towering trees. Because of this, Brazilian jungle troops train to move seamlessly between river and forest. They may travel by boat through flooded terrain before stepping onto land to continue deeper into the rainforest. These environmental differences shape how each force approaches combat. Filipino riverine units prioritize rapid mobility and coordinated boat tactics, while Brazilian jungle experts focus on endurance, stealth, and the ability to vanish into the dense rainforest. Training for Filipino Riverine Commandos is built around teamwork and precision. Every member of a boat crew has a clearly defined role, from navigation to security, and each position must work together perfectly for the mission to succeed. Navigation is a critical responsibility. A commando steering the boat must maintain complete focus while guiding the vessel through tight jungle waterways, constantly reading the river and watching the dense mangrove-lined path ahead. Recruits spend long hours mastering boat control in difficult conditions. Training pushes them to handle narrow channels and unpredictable river currents while maintaining speed and stability. Coordination between multiple boats is another essential skill. Units practice moving together through winding rivers, executing complex maneuvers where timing and communication determine success. Physical strength is important, but mental discipline matters just as much. Commandos train under pressure, learning to stay calm and focused even when situations change suddenly on the water. Speed and maneuverability are key advantages. Lightweight patrol boats are designed to cut quickly through shallow jungle rivers, allowing commandos to move rapidly between tight bends and narrow waterways. This mobility gives Filipino riverine units a powerful tactical edge. Their boats can slip into narrow mangrove channels and disappear into dense jungle waterways where larger forces would struggle to operate. Brazilian jungle training pushes soldiers toward endurance and survival. Trainees trek for long distances through dense Amazon rainforest carrying minimal equipment, learning to operate in an environment where the jungle itself becomes their greatest challenge. During survival exercises, soldiers learn how to find food using natural resources. In small clearings deep in the forest, Trainees gather plants and prepare simple jungle meals while surrounded by thick vegetation. Another essential skill is securing clean water. Soldiers practice purifying water taken from jungle streams and muddy riverbanks using improvised survival technique. Trainees also learn how to build shelters from natural materials. Using branches, vines, and large palm leaves, they construct simple jungle shelters that protect them from rain and insects. Movement through the rainforest requires patience and control. Brazilian jungle experts train to move slowly and deliberately through dense foliage, carefully watching every step to avoid noise and danger. Camouflage becomes second nature. Soldiers cover themselves with natural vegetation and blend into the surrounding plants until they are almost indistinguishable from the rainforest itself. This ability allows them to observe an area for long periods without being detected. Hidden within thick foliage, jungle troops wait silently for the right moment to act rather than rushing forward. When analysts compare Filipino Riverine Commandos with Brazilian jungle specialists, they often focus on adaptability. Both forces have mastered harsh tropical environments that challenge conventional military operations in very different ways. Filipino riverine units are built to dominate narrow jungle waterways. Their small tactical boats move quickly through mangrove channels, using speed and coordination to control tight river routes. Brazilian jungle troops, by contrast, excel deep within the Amazon rainforest. They move across muddy forest floors beneath thick canopies, relying on endurance and survival skills to operate far from modern support. River combat is where Filipino commandos often shine. Multiple patrol boats can coordinate rapid maneuvers through twisting jungle rivers, using tight turns and speed to outmaneuver opponents. In the Amazon, operations can shift into flooded forests where rivers expand into vast wetlands. Brazilian jungle troops train to move through these waterlogged environments while maintaining stealth and control. Because of these differences, the outcome of any encounter would depend heavily on terrain. Filipino commandos may hold the advantage in tight mangrove waterways, while Brazilian jungle specialists could rely on their survival knowledge and navigation skills deep within the rainforest. Technology plays an important role in modern river operations. Filipino riverine commandos often rely on advanced navigation systems mounted on fast patrol boats to maintain precise awareness while moving through narrow jungle waterways. Communication is equally critical. Boat crews coordinate using tactical radios and headsets while scanning dense mangrove riverbanks, ensuring every member stays connected during fast-moving operations. Surveillance tools also support these missions. From small patrol boats moving through tight river corridors, commandos monitor the surrounding jungle using compact observation equipment to detect potential threats. Brazilian jungle forces approach technology differently. Deep inside the Amazon rainforest, soldiers often rely on natural landmarks such as tree formations, terrain patterns, and river directions to guide their movement. The environment itself can disrupt modern equipment. Thick jungle canopy and heavy humidity sometimes interfere with GPS signals and electronic devices, forcing troops to adapt when technology becomes unreliable. Because of this, Brazilian jungle specialists combine modern gear with traditional environmental knowledge. By reading river flows, vegetation patterns, and the natural landscape, they remain effective even when technology fails. Logistics is another factor that highlights the differences between these two forces. In many tropical regions, rivers act as vital supply routes, allowing equipment and personnel to move efficiently through remote jungle terrain. Filipino riverine commandos are highly skilled at using waterways for rapid movement. Their fast patrol boats transport troops and supplies between islands and coastal regions, turning rivers and sea channels into reliable military highways. Brazilian jungle troops often face a different challenge. Deep within the Amazon rainforest, soldiers must carry essential supplies while trekking through dense vegetation and muddy forest paths far from established route. In these conditions, creativity and self-reliance become essential. Small teams establish hidden resupply points and depend on survival skills to sustain themselves for extended periods while operating in difficult jungle terrain. In the end, the idea of water supremacy in the jungle is less about one force defeating the other and more about understanding how geography shapes expertise. Vast jungle rivers winding through dense rainforest remind us that environments themselves shape the strategies of those who operate within them. Filipino Riverine Commandos represent generations of maritime and river knowledge forged within the island networks of Southeast Asia, where fast patrol boats move skillfully through narrow mangrove waterways. Brazilian jungle experts embody the endurance and adaptability required to survive deep within the immense Amazon rainforest, where soldiers move quietly through dense vegetation and blend into the jungle around them. Together, these forces demonstrate how humans learn to work with nature rather than against it. If their worlds ever collided, the outcome would depend on the environment itself, where swift river tactics meet deep jungle stealth.